What do women really think about penis size? Honestly, just don't make a big deal of it if you aren't big. I have experienced 4 penny. One was too big, one was a little skinny, one was actually nice but the person attached to it was cringy, and one was smaller but the person attached lovely. The only thing about number 4 is that he pointed out he was smaller, which then I couldn't get out of my head. Not the reason it didn't work out. By the way, just be proud of your goods. We are already self-conscious about our butts and backs and boobs and vaginas. My girlfriend told me that a small penis is not a problem and will not affect our sex life, but I really wish she did not have a penis. There's bigger and smaller vaginas just as there's bigger and smaller dicks. I like being average, because that makes me compatible with pretty much any. The truth is, sex is not unimportant and size matters, but bigger is not always better. You should care less probably. Size itself doesn't matter as much as people seem to think it does in my opinion, but attitude about it does. Have a big penis and are a generous, thoughtful lover. Great. Feel the need to constantly pepper conversations with "I have such a big dick" comments, or need to constantly be reassured that it is the biggest I've ever had or that it is huge in general. Annoying and a huge turn off. Have a small penis but still are a generous, thoughtful lover. Great. Feel the need to constantly require repeated assurances that it is big enough, or being super sensitive about anything even resembling dick size, comparisons in any way, and generally letting your insecurity about it become your number 1 personality trait. Huge turn off. If I'm happy with you and have told you that I'm satisfied with your size, then just drop it. I don't want to have to constantly pump up your ego in a forced way so you don't fall apart because you can't just take my word that I'm happy. If I have told you it isn't a big deal, then don't push it and bring it up until it becomes a problem. If it is huge, it is probably gonna hurt me, but we can get around it by communicating and finding things make it more comfortable for me. If you're very small, then penetration alone obviously will be a little different, but most women orgasm from other stuff anyways. I've heard that there are women that care, but I've never met one in real life personally. Honestly, the only people I've ever met that seem to give a shit and obsess about penis size are men. Vaginas differ in size, so it's going to be different for every woman. For me, there's definitely such a thing as too big. My current dude is a solid 7, maybe right on the verge of 8, and I'd say he's on the edge of being too big for me. A 6/7 is the sweet spot, personally, but smaller than that has also worked out great. I've definitely tried to bang a monster cock or 2 in my day, and it was too much. One guy left me unable to sit comfortably for a solid month. Which might sound kind of sexy, but when that's the outcome of one attempt to have sex, I'm not going to be wanting to do it again. I know guys never believe that they can possibly be big enough, but trust me, you can and more than likely are. As a man, it would simultaneously be a huge compliment and a bit of a heartbreak to hear you couldn't sit well after sex. Weirdly, it would be something I'd brag about to other dudes, but would get me next to nowhere with other women, since from what I hear they enjoy sitting down without pain. My husband sent me to the doctor once with a badly bruised cervix. I believe that 10 years later, he still feels basically the same way. Weirdly smug, but also he's been really careful to never do it again. Follow-up Q. Have you ever ended a relationship, not started one with someone post-hookup because someone's penis size wasn't right for you? My wife once told me about a guy she hooked up with once. When things got hot and heavy, it was so big it literally didn't fit and they just stopped. Luckily she had no such problem with me. Mixed emotions of the week. My ex told me she wished I had an 8-inch penis. I laughed and told her that I don't fold my penis in half for anyone. It's a factor in good sex, not the factor for good sex. What I mean is, penis size isn't totally irrelevant, so saying size doesn't matter is a little bit misleading. The thing is, though, women have varying preferences. There are size queens and there are women who genuinely love small penises, and everything in between. And size definitely does not make or break good sex. As I'm sure you know, many women can't even orgasm from PIVJ insertion alone. To throw you a tired but endlessly true line, confidence is sexy. Own what you have and be a good lover. Unless it's huge or very small, I don't really think about it at all. I once dated a guy who was transfixed with the idea that men constantly worried about how large, small their penises were. He was the only guy the first ever met who could take an innocuous comment about something unrelated and spin it into how I was possibly insulting someone's manhood. It was very odd. Size does matter, but I'd rather hook up with a guy that has a small dick and knows how to use it than a guy with a big dick, honestly. Whether he knows how to use it or not, because my experiences with big guys have all been pretty painful even when they try to be careful about it. Really, average is best, but skill is what matters most, and being able to listen, because a lot of guys don't. Penis length doesn't really matter. What does matter is length times diameter plus weight over girth divided by angle of the tip squared. Learn how to go down on a girl right and she probably won't care. How big of an asshole is attached to it? That's the real question. I've never even thought to measure my asshole. BRB. I've never worried or thought about my partner's penis size. Not once. I have, however, had moments of alarm upon realizing the length of their fingernails. I'm happy with average. To be honest, big dicks just hurt. I don't like anything too long as it hurts my cervix when they try to go deep and hard. Average size is nice. Too skinny is honestly a turn off for me. It's nice to feel full and a little stretched. A smaller dick can still feel good as long as it's super hard. Erection quality makes a huge difference regardless of size. My wife says, I've slept with big dicks. The only thing they have in common is they think because it's big, they can be lazy. I prefer average. The guy actually puts in effort and it feels much better. Quote. This exact statement can be made for super hot girls. They think because they're super hot, they can be lazy. I prefer average looking girls. The girl actually puts in effort and it feels much better. I don't care if a guy had a small dick as long as he doesn't have a horrible attitude because of it. I've never been with a guy and thought, gee, I wish his dick was bigger. But I have been with a guy and thought this is too much. I'd rather be with someone smaller. Being with someone too big for you can cause discomfort, pain, or even physical damage. Not to mention that a bigger dick is harder to blow. Username does not check out. There is a sweet spot, somewhere between 5.1 to 7.6 length and some figures for girth that I don't have. OFC. Size is irrelevant if you don't know how to use what you've got. A man on the smaller end of the scale can be a much better lover than a well-endowed one. Not to mention, every woman is different too. The stimulation a woman gets from penetration alone isn't the sole factor in what constitutes good sex. Well, my 2-foot schlong and I will just have to find someone who appreciates the two of us for who we are inside. Isn't that right, Goliath? Bitches love seafood till I whip out the shrimp. It matters to a certain degree. Most women don't want humongous penises cause it hurts, but if it's too small you can't feel much unless they are seriously good at working it, which usually isn't the case. Average to a little above average is usually fine. Before I lost my virginity, I was really insecure about the size of my dick because I had only seen other dicks in porn and they were all way bigger. Turns out, average size is average for a reason. Those giant porn cocks are kind of impractical and I'm sure porn girls are not enjoying them as much as they are acting it out. Hearing "ow, you're punching my cervix in the middle of sex" is kind of a turn off. Most women like average dicks that don't hurt too much. If they don't, you can purchase a big one that never goes soft for $20 and concentrate on non-penetrative sex because most women don't orgasm from penetration alone anyway. That and use your fingers. Of course size matters, but you have to know how to have sex. I've had terrible sex with larger guys and have had really good sex with smaller guys. I would prefer large and thick compared to smaller and thinner, but if they can't last more than a couple of minutes or take forever to come, I'm not interested in whatever they have. One of my big experiences was awful. He was very arrogant about his hardware, and then would just lay flat on top sweating. I called him the damp sandwich. Then he would get there without me and say, "I'll get you next time." I think the preponderance of women preoccupied with male genitalia is not proportionate to male redditors' wishful assumptions. Male redditors get their sex education from porn instead of actually communicating with, and believing, women. So no surprise that they think women want big dicks since they're too stupid to get that real women aren't porn actresses getting paid to pretend to enjoy themselves. I'll tell you right after I pick up this condom I dropped for my magnum dong. I'm a lesbian and can only speak for myself. But having slept with men before, I'll chime in, it doesn't matter much. Too big can be uncomfortable in a couple ways, including pain from being stretched out, and having my cervix pushed up against. With good communication, a man's penis size has never been an issue for me. Men's bodies are beautiful. I like more girth and not as much length. Pencil dick is a pretty big turn off.